Is it? Good. It is.
Our first presenters are here from Palm Beach Community College. We're going to hear from James Rowland, Heath, and Valerie Burks. Is our second presenter here? I don't think I saw him come in. Okay, so at this point we're only going to hear from them, and maybe he'll wander in, I don't know. They're going to present, and then we'll have time for questions and answers, probably for sure. So let's you guys take it away.
Hello everyone, I'm James Rowland from Palm Beach Community College. I'd also like to quickly introduce Dr. Heath, also from PBCC, and Dr. Valerie Burks, who just left us recently and now is at Valencia Community College. And I'll hand it over, I'm forgetting who. Dr. Burks.
I'm glad that James started because this project is largely the result of his energy. I am Valerie Burks. I am currently the honors director at Valencia, but until a month ago I was the honors program manager at Palm Beach Community College. Before we get into the data, I want to start with just a little background to give you some perspective. Palm Beach Community College is a traditional two-year college that was founded in 1933. However, just last year we went through a SACS level change and began this fall offering classes so that students could earn their bachelor's in applied science. I always fumble over that. And in January 1st, Palm Beach Community College will become Palm Beach State College. So it's an exciting time for the institution. A little demographic profile of PBCC. I'm in Washington. Academic year 2008-2009, PBCC had an unduplicated head count of 49,000. That translates to full-time equivalency of about 19,000. This shows you a little bit of the breakdown of the general student demographics of the PBCC population. Like many community colleges, more heavily female than male. Also to mostly traditional students, but a large percentage of non-traditional students. Good ethnic diversity, and the part-time, full-time student ratio is very similar to a commuter college or community college. The honors program at PBCC, I'll go over a few of the highlights to give you an idea of the setup. Eligibility for the program, we have two entry points. One, you can come as a first-time in college student. If you come as a first-time in college student, then we set our ACT and SAT benchmarks at about the 75th percentile nationally. I won't throw numbers at you because they don't translate perfectly. And we have an in-state placement test, and we use within the college, Palm Beach Community College uses the 86th percentile. So if you test at about the 86th percentile of incoming PBCC students who test on the in-house placement test, then you're eligible for honors. For students who are established in college, if they have PBCC hours or transfer hours, then you need at least a 3.5 GPA in order to be eligible for honors. The honors program consists of classes and projects. Students can take either, we usually run about 25 to 30 classes each term. Have to cancel a few, but for the most part those make. And we usually have about 100 students each term who will do projects, get honors credit by projects. There are 2 graduation tracks in the honors program at PBCC. You can get an honors diploma, which is 21 total credit hours of honors work. Most of those have to be in honors classes. You can only do 2 projects if you're going to get the diploma, and you have to take 1 required class, which is knowledge through the ages. In addition to that, you also have to earn what we call honors points. You have required activities in 3 different areas. You have to attend honors activities, you have to come to an honors event, an honors lunch, an honors movie night. You have to do service activities, and you also have to attend a small number of cultural events. You also have to graduate with the honors diploma, you must maintain a GPA of 3.5. We also have the second option, which works really well for our non-traditional students. You get an honor certificate, and for that it doesn't matter which of those are classes and which of those are projects. That actually works quite well because PBCC is a 4-campus college. We have campuses at Lake Worth, Boca Raton, Palm Beach Gardens, and Belle Glade. And if any of you know the geography of the Palm Beach County area, Belle Glade is this tiny little town at the south end of Lake Okeechobee, very small student population of 3,000 at the Belle Glade campus, and only 15 honors students. So it's almost impossible, if not impossible, to run an honors class when you only have a student population of 15. That's why the contracts, even though the program has moved on, the contracts are still an option because we want to maintain the honors viability for those students on the Belle Glade campus. Betsy, if you don't mind passing these out. What's being passed out right now, the first page of that gives you the demographic breakup of just the students in the honors program. Actually, I should have had you hand that out a little bit earlier. College-wide, there are 936 students. I won't go over these demographics too much because you can look at them when they get there. They do very much mirror the college demographics. The only difference, obviously, is that we have a larger percentage of honor students who are full-time students. So that gives you a little background. We'll take questions at the very end. That gives you a little background of the institution and of the program at PBCC. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to James Rowland, who will give you a little background. Oh, you're next. Sorry. Laura Heath, who will give you a little background of the statistical survey that was done.
Thank you. I'll take that. Thank you. Good afternoon. It is my pleasure to be here today. I'm Dr. Laura Heath. I'm the statistics professor. And it's a pleasure to be here to share the findings of the study of the Honors College at Palm Beach Community College. As part of the curriculum in my class, the students complete projects to submit to the undergraduate statistics project competition, which is a global competition. This study was conducted last year by 2 groups of students. Phase 1 was conducted in the fall of 2008 by 3 students here in Nooner, Nicholas Scalise and James Rowland, who is with us today. He's going to be sharing the results of Phase 1. Phase 2 was conducted as a follow-up study in the spring of 2009 by students Lisa Gomez, Christopher Kutzian, Ms. Melanie Rosselli, and Andrea Ruiz. Briefly, part of the mission of the Honors College is to provide a challenging environment in which students are encouraged to think critically. And this project does provide that challenging aspect of the course. And it provides an opportunity for students to research their interests. The purpose of Phase 1 of the study was to examine the student and faculty perceptions of the dynamics of the honors classes. And the purpose of Phase 2, the follow-up study, was to understand the reasons why potential eligible honor students have not joined the Honors College. This time I'd like to hand you over to James Rowland, who will talk about Phase 1 of the study.
Thank you, Dr. Heath. The questions we wanted to answer with our research was how do honors classes compare to regular classes? This included level of difficulty, workload, class size, interaction with professors, and interaction with students. We also wanted to answer the question, are honors classes more thought-provoking? To help answer these questions, we developed 2 surveys to gather data. One for the students and one for honors faculty. As a small group, we brainstormed the questions and discussed them with Dr. Heath before submitting them through an institutional review process with Dr. Burks, the County Manager of the Honors Program at PBCC, and Dr. Jennifer Campbell, Director of our Institutional Research and Effective Office on campus. We hosted the survey on SurveyMonkey, and Dr. Burks emailed it to the 817 honors students and the 25 honors faculty members. We received a total of 120 student responses and 18 faculty responses. The responses were compiled and analyzed collectively via a t-test of means to determine if significant difference exists between student and faculty perception of honors and regular courses. The demographics of our survey respondents do mirror pretty closely, if you look at the handout, to the actual honors program, with about 66% being female, 33% being male, the age breakdown fairly similar, and also with the ethnic backgrounds, it's also pretty much the same, even though we're seeing actually, since I didn't know before what the part-time, full-time was with the college, it's funny, even though it makes sense, the honors college is almost the exact opposite of the college body as a whole. Interesting little fact. Okay, and now a few highlights from the student survey include a comparison of overall course difficulty. Students were asked to rate on a scale of very easy, somewhat easy, neutral, somewhat difficult, and very difficult, what their perception of honors courses and regular courses were in difficulty levels. Statistical mean does show that there's a difference, and honors courses are more challenging than the regular sections. We also asked about workload on a similar scale. It was just using extremely light, just about the right amount of workload, heavy, or extremely heavy. I think with some of the extremely heavy on the regular courses are probably like financial accounting, which I don't know that for sure, but I'm betting that's what it was, because at least in my humble opinion. The survey, it does show, was to mean that survey respondents do feel honors courses do have a slightly heavier workload, but it's also a different type of workload, I would say, in a lot of cases compared to the regular sections. When asked which class is more thought-provoking, I'm sure this isn't a surprise to anyone in the audience. 80% responded honors classes are more thought-provoking. I cannot help but think that this is because students can flourish with the academic challenge and extra rigor of the coursework if given the chance. Class sizes are another factor that can't be ignored, as another factor to help improve honors courses. Since at our school, the maximum amount of students in an honors course, not counting overrides, would be 15 students. The average class size in the spring for an honors course was district-wide about 12, compared to regular classes, which are about 40 students, give or take a few. A little on the less side generally, but sometimes more. Average class size, respondents from honors students said 82% of the honors students felt the honors class sizes were just right, and 63% felt that their regular sections, which there's 40-some students, were way too large, or too large at least. They felt their interaction with professors in honors classes was above average. In regular sections, which also can relate back to class size, we're saying 30 students versus 15, a lot less time for the professors to interact with the students, especially if they have 7 sections, 150 students worth of work to grade. So it's like 63, but still, that's pretty good, 63% saying above interaction with professors. And now this is one where it really stands out with saying interaction with other students. 65% of honors students in the honors sections felt they had above average interaction with their peers, compared to just very measly 23% in regular section. So, we also, as the professors, we asked a similar set of questions, but they were asked to comment on the quality of students, or at least the quality of work produced by their students in honors and regular sections. The mean rating was significantly higher for the honors courses compared to the regular classes. The majority of the participants indicated the quality of the students in honors courses was above average. This does tie into our requirements that students involved in the honors college are required to have a 3.5 GPA and 12 credit hours if they're coming in by not testing into the school, or they can also have they can test in the test scores as Dr. Burks mentioned earlier. The professors were also asked questions similar along the lines of the average class size, which I guess you could tell this goes back to grading with this a lot, probably. Honors age, just the 67% felt the class size was just right, but the regular sections, 94% of the respondents felt they were too large. So that's actually not a talk at all. This is a lot of the debates going on. And then interaction with their students. Because this is honors faculty, I think this explains why they're actually so close together, because 83% of say they had an above average interaction with the student in honors section, and 72% felt they had above average interaction with their students in their regular sections. And also, now this is where it's also fairly interesting, which similar to the earlier numbers on the student side, but 63% of the professors thought their students had an above average interaction with their fellow students in honors section, compared to 27% felt they had an above average interaction in regular sections. Overall, the survey respondents felt they were more satisfied with their honors courses. In this presentation, we've explored just a few facets that are possibilities for that response. Some facets are more obvious, such as smaller class sizes do provide a better learning environment, which can lead to more interaction with their professors and their peers. Less obvious facets include that the challenge level and the amount of material in honors courses that help build the thought-provoking nature and build more of an academic challenge that the students embrace and excel in, instead of just giving, this is what you have to do to skate through the system. And the findings of this part of the study reinforce the necessity and effectiveness of the honor college. I think it also leads to the point we should expand the program. The overall perception from both students and faculty were extremely positive. This data might be helpful in determining future class structure, what we can take from honors courses and help apply it to regular sections and across the rest of the college. This study has also provided a launching point for additional research, which Dr. Heath will tell you more about.
Thank you, James. I'd just like to say James is one of our honor students, and he is extremely dedicated and involved in our program. And without his efforts and working with Dr. Burks, I probably wouldn't be here today because they were so instrumental in this presentation. The group that James was working with, that study revealed positive perceptions of the Honors College, and it really set the stage for a follow-up study. When you consider all the benefits of the Honors College, you may ask, well, why wouldn't you join the Honors College? Well, the purpose of the phase 2 of the study was to determine why the reasons why potential PBCC honors students who are eligible but not yet enrolled, why haven't they joined the Honors College? This group of students worked to develop a 12-question survey with both open-ended and multiple choice questions. They worked with Dr. Valerie Burks in our Office of Institutional Effectiveness to develop the survey and to identify more than 2,000 eligible students using the GPA credit hour requirements. All eligible students were sent an email with a link to an online survey which they can complete voluntarily. And out of all of those students, 243 students responded. And this slide gives you a breakdown of the demographics of those who responded. Over 70% female, many students, almost half in the 18 to 22 age bracket, so about half traditional. This slide shows a breakdown of the demographics of those that responded. Majority white, non-Hispanic students, about 50-50 part-time, full-time. So a little bit, just slightly different representation in respondents compared to the population. The participants were asked to indicate their reasons for not joining the Honors College, and their answers are listed in order of most frequent and then descending order. Almost half of the students said that the reason why they didn't enroll is because their school or employment workload was very heavy. Almost a third felt that the honors classes would be more difficult. Now the next three reasons sort of encompass a lack of awareness of what the Honors College is all about, where they indicated that they either were not aware of the Honors College, they didn't see a benefit of taking honors courses, or they didn't think they were eligible. And the survey was sent specifically to those who were eligible. And the last two reasons convey lack of course offerings that fit their schedule. They either indicated that the classes that they need are not offered as honors courses, or that they were not offered at times that fit their schedule. But again, the number one reason was that their school or employment workload was too heavy. Now this slide shows workload and club involvement. Most of the respondents worked less than 40 hours a week. A quarter of them indicated that they didn't work at all outside of college. So, and very few, less than 30%, were involved in clubs and organizations. So I thought that was surprising that there seemed to be a little disconnect with, they're saying that their school workload is too heavy, but they're not, they're not all working full time and they're not all involved in organizations. Now the students were asked to comment on the class size. So in this study, these students have never taken an honors class, so most of their classes are up to 40 students. In this study, most of them, almost over 80%, felt that their regular classes of up to 40 students were just the right size, where only about 16% felt that they were too large. So they had never been in an honors class with only 15 students. When you compare it to the phase 1 study, about a third felt that their classes were just right, but an overwhelming majority, almost over 60%, felt that their regular classes of up to 40 students were too large. This could be the case you don't know what you're missing if you've never experienced it before. So I thought that was an interesting finding as well. To wrap up, this study did help to identify major factors why students may choose not to participate in the program, and they primarily fell into 3 categories. Either they felt their school workload was too heavy, they were not aware, a lack of understanding, or the availability of courses did not suit their schedule. Students do need to be more informed, and this group recommended that the students receive emails about the benefits and the eligibility criteria to join the honors college, and that they also suggested that the institution should consider night and other alternative honors classes. As with all studies, this does have its limitations, but it does certainly provide useful information for those who are interested in honors programs. Currently, right now, my students in my current honors statistics class are developing a proposal for phase 3, and they're going to look at other aspects of the honors program, and they're going to focus on ways of, let me go to my notes here, ways of getting those who are enrolled in the honors college to become more active. We have approximately 1,000 students who are members of the honors college, yet less than 300 of them enrolled in honors classes in the fall. And further, only about 100 are actively involved in the honors activities. So the question that this next phase will attempt to answer is, how can we increase the participation of those who are members? And I look forward to working with the students and exploring that facet of the program and presenting the findings at a later date. At this time, I'd like to pass on the stage to Dr. Valerie Burks, who will conclude the presentation.
I really don't have any concluding remarks other than to say that Dr. Heath and James really worked well together in not just putting together the first phase, but seeing how it could be ushered through to future studies. Dr. Heath has done a really good job in working with her statistics class in order not just to get the course outline and the course content that you must reach whenever you take a statistics class, but to use what is a natural learning outcome in honors to do original research, and also to provide a service to the honors program itself, to use this venue, this platform, to do program research that becomes very useful, not just for us in envisioning how we're going to take our honors programs further, but also to make the argument to the administration and why honors is so very necessary. And at this point, I guess we will open up the floor to any questions.
Our other presenter didn't come in, correct? Okay, well then question.
Do you have any idea how many of the responding students that were eligible for the negative survey might have been first generation?
No, that's a very interesting question because I don't think that was included on the survey, whether or not they were first generation college.
Because their responses seemed, I mean, they had, I didn't know about it, it doesn't involve me, my classes that I'm in are just fine.
Let me make one comment about that because like very many honors programs at PVCC, there is a very concerted effort to make sure that you get the information out. And every term at PVCC, a report was requested from Institutional Research and Effectiveness, and they would give us the long list, the mailing address of everyone who was eligible, and the email address. Whenever I got those lists, I would send an email, a personal email through mail merge to each one of them that would insert their first name and tell them that you are eligible for honors. Let me tell you the honors classes that are coming up. We also, too, would put together a nice little postcard that had a nice pretty graphic on the front, and then you turn it over and it would have the entire slate of honors classes that would be coming up in the next term. That would go out to every single one of those students. So the claim that they never knew that it existed probably was true, but it was because they had they were not being they were not paying attention to what they were receiving. So the real breakdown, I always think, in getting the information about the program to students is to have some sort of formal place on the orientation agenda. And that is something that at PVCC we were never able to do. We were never able to convince the process of those who ran orientation because they had their checklist of things that they wanted to get through. And unfortunately, this is true at almost every institution, is that orientation is to, I hate to say it, the lowest common denominator. It is always assuming that we're going to have students who just want to barely get through, and so we have to give them our withdrawal policies, our financial policies. So making that argument to have a place in orientation, we were never successful. But Laura, I think, had a comment on that.
But Melody, you brought up a point that you were interested if they were first generation. That's something that we could consider in the future research, and I'm really glad that you brought that to our attention. It's something to consider as well.
Well, this continues what you've already said. I have an honors program at a community college, and my biggest problem is what many of the students said, the fact that they say they don't know anything about it. I like the postcard idea. Someone else gave me that earlier today. I've sent out letters. A lot of them get sent back because our students are very much on the move. I was wondering if there's anything else that you guys do that you responded with to let students know. I do posters. That doesn't seem to work.
Yeah, what I do as I teach 3 regular classes and then 1 honors class. Sorry. And I recruit from my regular class.
Okay. Yeah, I pimp a lot of my students.
In respect for faculty, what I had historically done is I would allow them to cannibalize their own classes, but I would not, and I would go through, for example, if Laura had 2 other sections of statistics and her honor statistics, I would manually go through and check those who were already enrolled in her honor statistics and say, hey, this person's eligible. Why don't you send like a personal plea for this student to transfer into your honor section? But I would never, and no faculty would ask me to, well, go look in the other statistics ones, because that would be, and that's one of the complaints that we frequently get in honors is that, oh, well, you take all the good students out of the. Oftentimes when you're teaching to a class of 40, you end up teaching to the 1 or 2 students who look interested in that class of 40. And you don't want honors to take those 1 or 2 students that are interested out of your class. So as long as the faculty member was willing to do it, then I would do it. But otherwise I would, no, I couldn't.
First a comment, and then Dr. Heath have a question. You can't you can't take a course unless you're paid up. You can't get into the class. You got to have your. Could we maybe institute something, unless you've heard about honors, you can't take a class, a regular class. They have to check the box or something.
Universal holds on it.
Yes.
Until they sign up and they click this link to come and tell them.
Why not?
I love it.
Dr. Heath, you mentioned in your talk, you mentioned honors classes, honors program, and honors college. Is that synonymous when you use those terms, or is there a distinction between the honors college and the honors program versus classes, etc.?
I'll tell you my understanding of it. Honors classes would be a class that is specifically honors. Honors program is just a general term, and honors college is the term, it is what our program is called. It's called an honors college.
And how's that distinct from the rest of the college?
It's really, it's advertising name really, because when Valerie came on, was when they changed from the honors program at PBCC to the honors college at PBCC. But has I really noticed any difference in my
It hasn't been announced
funding?
yet, but the Honors College at PBCC recently received an endowment which would rename the college after the donor. A similar thing is happening at Valencia College, where we have recently received a very large endowment, and part of the requirements of that endowment will be the renaming of the program into the donor's named college. So now I can make a very quick comment about honors colleges at community colleges, because that's one of the newest phenomenon. And I always think that Miami-Dade is the standard bearer here, because what Miami-Dade did when they established their honors college is to really set aside the traditional and etymologically correct use of the word college, which means a body of individuals working together for a similar purpose. And the distinction that Miami-Dade experienced when they moved from program to college was that they really reinforced the concept of community and the like-mindedness and the open discussion that would occur in this college within a college. When PBCC made that similar transformation, that same idea was captured. The idea that you are creating a community of scholars. And the programmatic transformation that occurred was we went from being a situation where you just took classes here or there and you cobbled them together and you said, okay, this is what I'm going to present to you for my graduation, and I'm going to graduate now. We changed from that until we had one similar course experience that was required, the knowledge through the ages. We also added the co-curricular content to and that the students were now required to attend honors activities. They were now required to do some sort of service to the community, and they were required to do a second level of service to the community by supporting the cultural life of the community. So that, when you make that transformation, I think that when you move from a program to a college, it really does have to have that additional element that recognizes not just the fact that students are let me put it this way, students are sponges of the best of the university, but that by being honors, it makes them a more integral and responsive member of that community. And I think that's what the change always means. Something to look forward to. Yes?
What are the requirements for the honor certificate?
The honor certificate is 12 credit hours, and it is really a, build it any way you want to, kind of a buffet table. We retained that option mainly in order to be able to serve our Bell Glade students. It would have been very easy to take that option off the table, but then we would have disenfranchised this demographic group that has been historically disenfranchised. If you know anything about the Bell Glade community, it is very heavily minority, very heavily African American, and the opportunities that are available to them are restricted as it exists, and we were not going to make that even more restricted.
Any GPA requirement?
Yeah, 3.5.
One of the questions on the Phase 2 survey to the students, I wondered if you asked them about, it didn't seem like you had any questions about sort of do they have any negative stereotypes or perceptions, because some students have that sort of elitism.
Yes.
And then the same thing, did you ever think about surveying faculty on campus who weren't in the honors program, sort of the same questions? Because I get a lot of that kickback from some faculty on campus.
Phase 4 and 5.
There was an opportunity for the students to include another choice where they could respond in any way, and I didn't recall seeing any that were negative like there.
What sort of open-ended responses would you get?
Some of them were, I have 3 small children and I'm a single mom, too busy.
I do remember it's been several months since I read the open-ended responses. I do think there were a few
There was, I could only recall
negative, what I
one
would
that was highlighted.
classify as negative.
One highly, maybe 1 or 2 slightly mid-range.
Yeah, I there's just one that kind of.
Just one that stood out as negative. Mostly it was, I don't know, the 5 or 6 different ways. I don't necessarily have any awareness of the honors college. It's a basic response. And just phrased slightly differently here, there, and everywhere.
That is a wonderfully interesting question that you asked about surveying faculty who are not presently associated with honors. As any program experiences, we had a small number of faculty at PBCC who had in the past historically have been quite involved in honors and for whatever reason had dropped out and probably do have negative or biased opinions that it would be interesting to sound out. I'm wondering if interviews might be a better way to get to that. In fact, I was wondering that whenever we did the statistical analysis on the faculty as a whole, and we did have 18 of 35 respond, which is over 50%, but 18 is a very small sample group, so that it's probably better if you do interviews or discussions with faculty in order to get at some of those conceptions rather than survey data.
It could be a possible course, more qualitative analysis type of class. We are limited, to one semester statistics class, so the fact that they can do so much in such a short time.
It is a great opportunity, and I always encourage the faculty to think of our honor students as a research base that you can mine, because I have their contact information, and if you want to email them and administer a survey, might be at any time. Initially, whenever you're new in a program, you don't have the kind of rapport with the students where you send them an email and they're likely to respond. But as you go along and students get to know you, when you send an email out that has a request for a survey, you do get a good, healthy response. And I found with time that there are some students like James, who has his email sent to his portable device, and if I send him an email, I'll have a response in 30 seconds. Then you have the other side of the spectrum, students who absolutely will not ever check their email. They'll check their Facebook 10 times before they look at their institutional email. Joe, that must be you. I heard you talk really loud. So the interesting thing is that that's going to the extremes. Those who are extremely connected or those who are not connected by email. Email is becoming a somewhat dissatisfactory way of contacting students, but for the time being, it's what we have. We all have to start Twittering and Facebooking in order to get that. Alexis, did you have a question?
Yeah, I go to a university and community college and kind of smashed together. And of the 600 honor students we have, 2 of them are from the community college. How do we get more of them involved in our program?
So you have explain a little bit what
the institution is Fairmont State University and community college. They're all the same school.
Okay.
Same campus, same place.
Same registration?
Yeah.
And is the university a 4-year?
Yeah, so it's a 4-year university and a 2-year or community college.
Yeah.
They're kind of smashed together. Everything's the same. Teachers are the same. Classes are the same. They're just kind of split.
And there's an honors program. Is there separate administration located in the community college, or is all the honors administration in the university?
All the honors administration is in the school, but we don't really differentiate between the two.
Okay.
It's one.
So the community college is like a college within the larger university structure.
Very much so. But
kind of like the CUNY system.
They are technically 2 different things. I send a lot of emails, so I know there are Fairmont emails and there are Pierpont emails, and there are 2 Pierpont emails out of the 600 Fairmont emails.
So there must be different registration or...
Do you know if there's been any effort on the part of the honors administration to contact?
Oh, very much so. We tried really hard to get it out to everyone. And
are there any autonomous classes, honors classes that are offered at the community college, or they're all in the honors program?
They're all in the same school. We have one campus, one very small campus.
Okay.
And it's all right there. But the community college teachers don't particularly want to be in honors, and we can't figure out why.
I wonder if you have that perception disconnect that was demonstrated in this survey, but it may be even more profound in this particular case, is that the students believe that honors classes are too hard. And if a community college population, students within that population who are making at least a 3.5, they should think of themselves as smart, but for whatever reason they still have a perception I'm not smart enough to do that. I believe they're going to be too hard. I wonder if that becomes even more exaggerated when the community college students would have to do that at a university level. I may be eligible, but I think university honors is way beyond me. Kind of a self-deprecating attitude that unfortunately is all too common in community colleges, and why I think that the community college honors program serves a tremendous service, because it takes these students and says, not only are you eligible and capable of this, but you are worthy of it.
I guess my question is, how do you do that? How do you reach out that way? Because whatever we're doing is.
Do you have an idea?
I do. I work at a four-year university, and but I work. Half my job is spent working with the transfer population. The other half, of course, traditional, coming from high school. But with that, one of the things that I found if I started a student group, so it is students, and they are basically honors ambassadors. And so I work with them. It's a paraprofessional organization. They do training, they do public speaking. But I find that's the most successful thing, and regardless of the student population, is the student-to-student contact. Because that is the number one thing I hear from transfer students coming from the community college system, is they feel like even though they are eligible, that it is too difficult, the workload is too much. A lot of my population is first generation ethnic minorities, so they don't have a support structure in place that says, yes, you can go on and do this. So if they hear it from a student that says, this is what it's really like to be in the classroom, this is my background, this is my experience, this is what I'm doing, these are the kinds of things you can do too, that's made the greatest impact on the student success. It doesn't catch everyone, but that's made a huge impact there.
Yeah, I think some outreach efforts on the part of honors to the, I'm assuming that most of the community college classes are maybe physically in a separate space.
Oh no,
It's all,
it's all the same thing. It really is.
I'll have to ask you about how it works.
I'll talk to you more about
Okay, because it sounds fascinating.
You talked about emailing the students. At our college, we just implemented institutional email, and most students don't even know it exists.
Yeah.
So do you use institutional email, or do you use
PBCC was very late to that dance. Many universities and colleges began having institutional email 10 years ago, 5 years ago would have been average. PBCC got institutional email last year.
Last summer.
And that, when that happened, my doorway to contacting the student population opened, because while I may not want to or even be able to send emails to yahoo.com, whenever it's their institutional email, I felt no compunction about sending an email to 2,500 students that would end up in their PBCC email. So that, it's another.
So how did you get the students to start using it and to give up their, not give up, but have like a school email that they use?
By what PBCC did, and I'm not guaranteeing that this was religiously practiced across the board, but it made policy that you were prevented from contacting them on their personal email, and if they emailed you on their personal email, you were not to respond to them until they sent that email from their PBCC. I don't know if your college has a similar policy, and I'm not saying that was perfect, it didn't, and I'm not, and if somebody, I mean, my whole point was to be helpful to the students. If somebody emailed me from Hotmail, I would respond to their email. I would never send an initial email out to their personal email, but I would always respond back. But the college policy was if somebody sent from a personal email, you weren't to respond. So.
I was going to say, we have a similar policy at our school, and ours is very strict because of our FERPA regulations. So if a student sends me something, I write them back and just say, write me on the other email.
Yeah.
And they get it.
Yeah. That's probably a good practice. Being new to Valencia, I'm not positive whenever the Valencia institutional email began.
Some professors.
Seems like forever, 10 years maybe.
See, at Valencia, I have no extraneous email contact. Any email that comes to me from a Valencia student comes from their Valencia institutional email address. So they have lived in a culture where it is accepted. So I think it's just a matter of time for them to move to the understanding that you have to check it every day or you have to forward it. That was in the process of happening at PBCC, and I did see an improvement in that, but it's
Some professors have made the first assignment for just maybe a couple points to have the student actually their email and send the professor an email.
And like any institution, they are responsible for anything that is sent to that, so.
When we send an email we could send an email to our entire roster, we will get a list back of those who have not activated their email. We can if we see them in class, to activate their email?
The most difficult part of that whole email question is that now significant population of students who will not communicate by email because that's, in their opinion, an antiquated method of communicating. They just don't do that.
I know at Valencia, it's mandatory for you to, activate your email. And the fact that students don't check their email, after a while it gets exasperated because they get such a plethora of emails from, at Valencia we have Atlas emails, Atlas announcements, they come so much, like twice a day. So they kind of start ignoring it after a while.
Yeah. I try to be sensitive to that. That's one of the, anyone who has a Facebook account knows that you may join a group. What's the main reason you leave a group? Because they message you too frequently. I try to be sensitive to that, and there's a point at which accessibility becomes an annoyance, and that's something you have to navigate really carefully in order not to violate those boundaries.
And I do try to be very careful with that. We saw an honest Facebook group of PBCC.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Any other questions or comments? Thank you so much for your attention and thank you for if anyone didn't get a handout, we have a couple.
Give me a second. Next is.